Yo, what is good, YouTube? Krishan checking back in with another video. So starting this video off with updates of Brett Wilkin is 6 weeks out from this year's Romania Pro. And I'm actually very excited that Brett decided to hop back on stage this year. As you guys know, some people felt like he didn't have the best showing at this year's Arnold Classic. But that was his first Arnold, and taking 6th place is actually pretty good. And that was a stacked lineup. And Brett admitted after the Arnold Classic he made the mistake of paying too much attention to the scale and was just focusing on coming in too big. Versus when he came in at the Chicago Pro peeled, he was pushing top 4 at the Olympia Hunter Labrada. So as long as Brett nails his conditioning, I think he'll have a great showing at Romania and qualify for this year's Olympia. And in the next update of the day, Martin Fitzwater actually posted these up on his story about 2 days ago. And I'm not going to go over the drama that's been going on with him and Bob Ciccarello. I'm pretty sure enough channels have drilled that into our heads. But as you guys know, Martin is one of my favorite guys coming up in the sport. Already has one of the best backs. Now, he did say after this Arnold Classic UK, he's going to take a year off, maybe 2. He really wants to focus on putting on size. But hopefully Martin is able to maintain his waist size while adding on mass, because his waist is one of his strong suits, especially in the front double when he pulls the vacuum. Now, switching over to Michal Krizo, these are the most recent updates of him ahead of this weekend's Amateur Olympia. Now, this isn't a big update, but I did want to point out, Krizo has a crazy amount of vascularity in the upper body, also has striations in the pecs. But he is training chest, so of course he is going to be a little bit more pumped up. But we have top pros that don't even have this level of definition in the upper body, such as Derek Lunsford. Derek is usually very flat in the upper body, which could just be from him dieting down to 212. But Jay Cutler even mentioned when he seen Krizo in person, the muscle fibers and the striations are just crazy. Krizo seems to have very fresh muscle, like he doesn't have any injuries. I'm excited to see him on stage. Now, in the next update of the day, this was posted up by Charles Griffen a couple of days ago. And this is going to be the first impression the judges see when these guys come out. This Olympia is so stacked, man. It's going to be almost harder to predict the 6 through 12 than the 1 through 6. But I think this is definitely going to stand out in the lineup. And honestly, all of the more aesthetic guys are going to stand out. But Charles Griffen is also coached by Matt Jansen, who coaches Nick Walker, Brett Wilkin, Sean Clarita. Matt does an incredible job with these guys, and I'm excited to see the next version of Charles Griffen. Hopefully it's the best yet. Now, switching over to Tonio Burton, these are the latest updates of him ahead of this weekend's Legion Sports Fest. And I apologize for saying this in every single video, but someone messaged Tonio, please hire a posing coach. If this guy could pose better, I think his physique will look miles better already. But as I mentioned in my last video, Tonio just needs a little bit more hamstring separation, and I think that just comes from training more. I don't think there's really a conditioning issue when we don't see guys with peeled hamstrings. I just think they have more work to do in that area. But I'm excited to see Tonio at this show. And he actually posted up on his story in Las Vegas he's seen Justin Rodriguez training in the same gym. So I guess we can assume that Justin is going to be in this weekend's Legion Sports Fest. Now, these are the most recent updates from him, but they're actually about 3 weeks old. Justin has not been putting out physique updates. He's actually been pretty quiet. And it's really odd because, I call Justin Mr. Consistent. He puts out updates almost every single day. So I'm not sure if that's a good thing or a bad thing. But Justin is actually already qualified for this year's Olympia off of points, so he doesn't really have to compete. The only guy that can really pass him is Coelho, and I think Coelho is done for the season, but hoping for the best for Justin. And in the next update of the day, you guys are currently looking at Quinton Eriya at 300 pounds. Quinton actually did a guest posing this weekend, and this guy looked incredible. So he did say that he wants to take off at least 1 year, maybe even 2 years, because the feedback that he got is he has one of the best structures in the sport. A few people have even went as far to say as Quint has Ronnie Coleman potential. I believe that was Fuad Abiyad. But Quint definitely looks incredible. Seems like he's maintaining a small midsection. Also another Nigerian guy, man. The Nigerian guys are taking over with the tiny waist and huge quads. Now, I did want to touch on Lionel Beyeke for a second. As we all know, he did not have the best showing. He actually had a pretty bad showing. He was pretty off. But I do think a lot of people were being a little bit too harsh on Lionel. I literally seen thousands of comments of people just putting him down. But huge respect to the news platforms. None of us really bashed Lionel. We pretty much just reported the news, and a lot of it was coming from the comments. I actually asked Bodybuilders Without Borders to turn off the comments because they were so hateful towards Lionel. But of course, Lionel has to have some responsibility because as a pro, you just should not show up like this. But I just had to touch on this for a second because I felt like people were being a little bit too harsh on Lionel. And in the next update of the day, these are recent updates of Antoine Vaillant. And if you guys remember in all of my recent updates of Antoine, I always say he's a guy that comes in crazy condition and has a lot of detail, and he can definitely catch some guys slipping. But if Antoine has put on some size since he competed at the Chicago Pro, I think he can actually be pretty competitive. He did have some health issues either earlier this year or last year, but if Antoine is able to come in a little bit bigger with the same condition, he's going to be dangerous. And if you guys have been wondering where is Robert Timms, also known as Mr. Classic Physique, Robert actually announced today that he's going to start prep. Now, he is a guy that likes to work from the shadows, so we probably aren't going to know which show he's doing until we see the competitors list. But he actually won last year's Texas Pro. Incredible physique. He came out of nowhere. No one probably even had him on their prediction list, and he beat Logan Franklin. So I'm excited to see him whenever he hops on stage. Now, speaking of Logan Franklin, he actually put up some recent updates. And as you guys know, Logan is one of my favorite guys in the sport. Also one of the best posers. Now, Logan was not at last year's Mr. Olympia, so it's really hard to gauge where he's going to place. You know, can he beat a guy like Urs Kalasinski, you know, Ramon Dino? Can he beat Alex Cambronero, Mike Summerfield, Fabian Mayr? I'm not sure, but I'm excited to see Logan at this year's Olympia. He's definitely made some improvements. Legs still need to come up from the back. But Logan has really improved his back, and once again, he's going to be one of the best posers up there next to Terrence Ruffin. Now, speaking of Fabian Mayr, referring back to my last video, I said I love Fabian's physique. He's a huge guy. But as you guys can see, I think this wider midsection is what's going to hold him back from placing higher in the classic physique division. And let's say Fabian does make it to the first call-out. If you put this next to Chris Bumstead and Terrence Ruffin, his waistline is going to look even wider than what it actually is. But I'm excited to see Fabian at this year's Olympia. Hopefully he's able to work on his posing a little bit to kind of hide that wider midsection, you know, maybe pose like Wesley Vissers. And switching over to 212, we have recent updates of Lucas Coelho. And Lucas actually posted up something very interesting today. Derek Lunsford actually really praised his physique on a podcast and actually told Lucas if he wants to come down to Florida to work with him, Derek is always open for that. He thinks this guy has a very bright future. And I feel like I'm honestly one of the only guys that talks about him, but he has some of the craziest quads in the 212 division. 212, open, classic, men's physique, every division is going to be stacked at this year's Olympia, and these guys mean business. Now, in this video here with the archive of the day, I'm pretty sure you guys could easily guess what three bodybuilders these are, but let's see if you guys can guess which Mr. Olympia competition is this. As always, I hope you guys did indeed enjoy this video. If you haven't done so already, be sure to like the video and subscribe to the channel. I'm Krishan from GOAT Fitness, and that's it. I'm out.